Welcome to the course Design of Reinforced Concrete Structure. Myself, S. Kranti Vijaya, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Civil Engineering, Vignan Institute of Information Technology, Duvada. In this lecture, we are going to discuss regarding the columns, the classification of columns, and the IS code recommendations for design of columns. So, first let us see what are columns. So, columns are also called as compression members. So, first let us see the definition of a column. So, what column is? A column is a vertical compression member which is mainly subjected to axial loads. So, here if you can see, this is the column. So, how this column is? This is a vertical member, okay, so which is subjected to the axial load. So, due to the loads, what will happen? It will be subjected to the compression. So, that is the reason why it is also called as a compression member. So, this is how a column look like. So, what the column effective length exceeds 3 times its least lateral dimension. That is what? This is the least lateral dimensions. These are the lateral dimensions of the column, isn't it or not? So, a column, it is what? The effective length, that is the length of the effective length of this particular column, okay, it exceeds 3 times. It will be more than 3 times the least. So, out of these two, if it is a rectangular column, the least lateral dimension, that 3 times will be the length of the effective length of the column. So, that vertical compression member on which the axial loads will act, and if it is subjected to compression, as well as the columns are subjected to bending also. So, then it is called as a column. So, for what these columns are meant for? The columns are meant for transferring the loads of the superstructure to the foundations safely. So, what above this, all the superstructure? So, we will have, so all the loads from the slabs and the beams will come onto the column, and this column will safely transfer all the loads to the foundations below. So, this is the foundation. So, the purpose of the column is what? It should safely transfer all the loads from the superstructure, that is from the slabs and from the beams to the foundations, and from the foundations the loads will be transferred to the soil beneath. So, in addition to the columns, we also have struts and pedestals. The struts and pedestals are also considered as compression members, which we can see in the buildings, bridges, etc. So, now first let us see what is a pedestal and what is a strut. So, what is a pedestal? So, pedestal is a compression member whose effective length is less than 3 times the least lateral dimensions. Okay. So, what a pedestal is? If you observe some cases, we will have the foundation like this, we will have a pedestal, and the top of that we will have a column. So, pedestal is something, it will be in between the column and the footing. So, what the length of this pedestal, it will be very small, that is it is less than 3 times the lateral dimension, that is the lateral dimension will be more for a pedestal, and this length will be very less. So, it will be in between the column and the foundation. So, it will be also subjected to compression. So, pedestal is also a compression member. And now, what is a strut? Strut is what? Strut we can mainly see in the trusses. Okay. So, strut is a member, it is either an inclined or a horizontal member, and it is also subjected to axial loads, and these struts we can mostly see in the truss members. In the truss members we can see the struts. So along with columns, the pedestals as well as the struts also comes under the compression members. So now let us see the classification of columns. So the columns are classified based on the shape of the cross section, the material used, the types of the loading, the slenderness ratio, and the type of lateral reinforcement Now let us see in detail the classification of columns. So first let us see the classification of the column based on the shape of cross section. So based on the shape of the cross section, that is if we will take the section in the cross section, the columns we can maybe either a square column, we have rectangular columns, we have circular columns, we have pentagonal, hexagonal, octagonal columns, we have T-shaped and L-shaped columns. So these are all the types of the columns which are based on the cross section. Now let us see the classification of columns based on the materials used. So based on the material used, the columns might be timber columns, that is the material of that particular column is timber, and the timber columns are generally used for very light loads. We have masonry columns, and the masonry columns are also used for very light loads. We have RCC columns. So now in all the RCC structures we have the RCC columns only, and it is most commonly used type of material for columns in all type of buildings. And we have steel columns. The material there used is steel, and steel columns are generally used when the loads are heavy. For heavy loads we will use the steel columns. And then finally we have the composite columns, and these composite columns are made of steel as well as the RCC. Okay, so here what? There is a mixing of two or more materials. So that is the reason why the name it came as composite. So composite columns. So these composite columns are used for bearing heavy loads, and generally these composite columns consist of steel sections either in the form of I sections or H sections, which are embedded in RCC sections. So you'll have an RCC section, these steel section will be embedded inside the RCC sections. So here we have two materials. So such kind of columns are called as composite columns based on the material used. Now the types of columns based on the loading. So based on the loading, we have axially loaded columns and we have eccentrically loaded columns. Now we will see what is an axially loaded column and an eccentrically loaded column. So when the columns are subjected to axial loads along the centroid of the column, then such a kind of columns are called as axially loaded columns. So in such kind of columns there will be only compressive stresses and there will not be any bending stresses. So that particular columns are subjected to what? They are subjected to direct compressive stresses and there will be no bending stresses. So such kind of columns are called as axially loaded columns. So now let's see what is meant by the eccentrically loaded columns. So what are eccentrically loaded columns? The columns in which the load will not act along the longitudinal axis, that is it will not act at the centroid. Okay, the load will act at some distance. Okay, so then that particular type of columns are subjected to direct compression as well as bending. Okay, so they are subjected to direct compressive stresses as well as the bending stresses. So such a kind of columns are called as eccentrically loaded columns. So these are the classification of columns based on the types of loading. So now let us see the figures of axially loaded columns and eccentrically loaded columns. So if you see here, this is a column and this is the centroidal axis of this column, and this particular load P is acting at the centroidal axis. So this type of column is called as an axially loaded column. And if you will see this particular column here, these two columns are the eccentrically loaded columns. So eccentrically loaded columns in the sense what? See, if you see, this is the centroidal axis, but this load P is acting at some distance. Okay, on this axis only it is acting, but it is acting at some distance. So such type of columns are called as eccentrically loaded columns. Here what we have, an axial load, as well as there is a movement, that is there is a bending, that too the bending is only in one direction. So such type of columns are called as axially loaded columns with uniaxial bending. In the similar way, if you see this particular column here, this is the centroidal axis, the load is acting somewhere at this particular point, is it or not? So there is an eccentricity Ex as well as Ey. So such type of columns, they have an axial load, and as well as you will have a biaxial bending, that is there is a bending in both the directions. So such kind of columns are called as axially loaded columns with biaxial bending. So this particular column will be subjected to only compressive stresses, and these two columns will be subjected to both compressive stresses as well as the bending stresses. So here the bending will be in one direction, that is the uniaxial bending, and here it will be in both, that is the biaxial bending. So these are the eccentrically loaded columns and this is the axially loaded column. So now let us see the classification of columns based on the slenderness ratio. So based on the slenderness ratio, the columns are classified as either a short column or long column. So first let us see what is a short column. So before seeing what is a short column, let us see what is meant by the slenderness ratio. So slenderness ratio is nothing but it is the ratio of effective length to the least lateral dimension, that is L effective by either D or L effective by B. Okay, if it is a square column, you will have only one dimension, and if it is a rectangular column, we will have both B and D, and if it is a circular column also, we have only one diameter. So slenderness ratio is nothing but the effective length divided by the lateral dimension, either B or D. So if this particular effective length to the least lateral dimension, if it is less than or equal to 12, then it is called as a short column, and if that particular ratio, if it is greater than 12, then it is called as a long column. So if it is less than or equal to 12, it is called as a short column. If this ratio, if the slenderness ratio, if it is greater than 12, then it is called as a long column. So now let us see the classification of columns based on the lateral reinforcement. So what generally the columns has two reinforcements provided in it. One is the longitudinal reinforcement and the other one is the lateral reinforcement. So if you observe this particular column, so this is the plan and this is the section here. So if you see here, this is a rectangular column and this is a circular column. So in a rectangular column, what here we have the main reinforcement, this is the longitudinal reinforcement, and this is the lateral ties. So these are called as the lateral reinforcement or the lateral ties. So this is the plan. You can see you have 4 bars here, and this is the lateral ties. So this is for a rectangular column. In the similar way, this is for a circular column. In the circular column, these are the main longitudinal reinforcement, and here the lateral ties are provided in a spiral ties. So here these will be called as the lateral ties, and here in a rectangular column these are called as the spiral ties or helical ties. These are called as. So what, in a column we have the longitudinal as well as the lateral reinforcement. So the column with longitudinal steel and the lateral ties, okay, that is the longitudinal steel, okay, and the lateral ties are generally seen in rectangular columns, okay, and with longitudinal steel and spiral ties are generally seen in circular columns. Okay, so the column are generally reinforced with what? Longitudinal steel as well as the here the longitudinal steel, and they are laterally supported with the lateral ties. So this is the plan of the circular column. So here these are the longitudinal reinforcement if you see from the top. So this is the classification of columns. Now let us see the IS codal recommendations for the design of columns. Now let us see the steps what we have to follow for the design of axially loaded short columns. So the design of axially loaded short columns. So for the design of axially loaded short columns, what you have to design here, we have to design the size of the column as well as the reinforcement details has to be designed. That is the longitudinal reinforcement as well as the lateral reinforcement has to be designed. So for designing of all these things, certain equations and certain values has to be taken from IS 456-2000. Now let us see for an axially loaded column what are the IS codal recommendations what we have to follow. So for the designing of an axially loaded column, the equation what we have to use is so first what we have to do is we have to find out the size of the column, that is the dimensions of the column has to be found out. So we'll see how we have to find out that. So for axially loaded short columns, okay, this particular equation has to be used in the design. So it is PU is equal to 0.4 FCK into AC plus 0.67 FI into ASC. Okay, FCK is grade of concrete, PU is the load, the axial load, AC is the area of the concrete, FI is the grade of steel, and ASC is nothing but the area of the longitudinal steel in column. So this particular equation can be used when the minimum eccentricity, okay, it does not exceed 0.05 times the lateral dimensions. Okay, so what we have to do, all the design of the column should be done for minimum eccentricities. That is, we have to find out the minimum eccentricity. So before designing, for suppose if the question is given design a column, if it is not mentioned, if it is short or a long column is also called a slender column. If it is not mentioned, then first what we have to do, we have to find out the slenderness ratio, and from that we have to find out the short column and the long column. So we will see how to find out the slenderness ratio and in which clause the slenderness ratio is given. So the slenderness ratio can be calculated from this clause 25.1.2. So it is calculated as I have already discussed, that is L effective by D. Okay, the formula is L effective by D or L effective by B. Okay, this will be for rectangular column. For a square or a circular column, L effective by D will be okay, because you have only one dimension there. Okay, so if L effective by D ratio, if it is less than 12, then it is a short column, and if it is greater than 12, then you have to design for a long column. So here what you have, L effective. So where will you get this L effective from? So the L effective also can be calculated from table 28 of IS 456 2000. Now let us see where the table 28 is in IS 456 2000. So the effective length of the column can be calculated from this table 28 based on the conditions. Okay, degree of end conditions will be mentioned in the question, and based on that what we have to do, these will be the recommended values of the effective length, and from this we have to calculate the L effective. Okay, so from table 28 we have to calculate. So now we will get whether if it is a short column or a long column, and then next what we have to find out is we have to find out the minimum eccentricity, because all the columns has to be designed for minimum eccentricity. Now we will see how the minimum eccentricity can be found out. So now all the columns shall be designed for the minimum eccentricity. So how we will calculate the minimum eccentricity? Minimum eccentricity will be equal to the unsupported length of the column, unsupported length in the sense L, divided by 500 plus the lateral dimension, okay, either D or B, divided by 30. So this is how we have to calculate the E minimum, that is the minimum eccentricity as per IS 456 2000, and the minimum there should be a value of 20 mm. So even though if the value if it is less, you have to take a value of minimum of 20 mm has to be considered. Okay, so this is how we will calculate the E minimum. So by doing all this, the dimensions of the column can be calculated. So while calculating the dimensions of the column, if there is a problem in calculating the reinforcement, steel reinforcement which has to be provided, then there is a clause for provision of steel reinforcement in IS 456 2000. Now let us see what is the clause. So when the longitudinal reinforcement has to be provided in the columns, so we have to follow this particular clause 26.5.3. How the longitudinal reinforcement has to be considered is the cross sectional area of the longitudinal reinforcement, it should be in between 0.8% to 6% of the cross sectional area of the column. So as 6% reinforcement, okay, it might involve some practical difficulties, so that 6% has been reduced to 4%. Okay, so while calculating the longitudinal reinforcement, we have to take the cross sectional area of the longitudinal reinforcement in between 0.8% to 4% of the cross sectional area of the column. That is, ASC can be taken as in between 0.8 to 4% of AG. Okay, AG is nothing but the cross sectional area of the column. So this is what we have to follow. And the bars which has to be provided as a longitudinal reinforcement, okay, it should not be less than 12 mm in diameter, and there should be a minimum of 4 bars which has to be provided in the rectangular columns, and there should be a minimum of 6 bars which has to be provided in the circular columns as a longitudinal reinforcement. So this is how we have to find out the longitudinal reinforcement. And now let us see what are the lateral ties, that is how we have to provide the lateral ties. Now the lateral ties, what we are providing, okay, that is the diameter of the lateral ties what we are providing, it should not be less than 1/4 of the diameter of the largest longitudinal bar. That is, if you are providing the lateral ties, the diameter of that particular lateral ties, it should not be less than 1/4 of the diameter of the longitudinal bars. That is the largest diameter of the longitudinal bars, and in no case it should be less than 6 mm. Okay, in no case it should be less than 6 mm. That is, we have to provide minimum of 6 mm. okay, or the value which we will get here. So that is how we have to provide the diameter of the lateral ties. And now what? Here what? If this is the section of the column, okay, here how we will provide the longitudinal bars. Now how lateral ties will be provided? This is how the lateral ties are provided, isn't it or not? So the diameter of the lateral ties are found out from this particular clause. So what should be the pitch? That is the distance between two lateral ties. So I will find out that. So for that also there is a clause which is given in IS 456, and in that clause the transverse reinforcement, that is the lateral reinforcement, okay, shall not be more than the least of the following three. That is, one is the least lateral dimension of the compression member, that is you have to take the least dimension, either D or the B, and the other one is 16 times the smallest diameter of the longitudinal reinforcement bar. If you are taking the reinforcement bar, in that the least diameter you have to take, and 16 times D is what you have to calculate, and the other one is the 300 mm. So out of these three, the least value has to be considered as the pitch, okay, what you are providing for the lateral ties. So these are the IS codal recommendations what you have to follow for the design of axially loaded columns. So in the similar way, these are only the IS codal recommendations for the design of short columns for axially loaded and uniaxial bending as well as biaxial bending. But the only difference there is, as the design of columns for bending, that is for uniaxial bending moments and the biaxial bending moment, it is very laborious, that is it is very lengthy and it is very complicated. So for design of such columns, what they have done is they have used some design aids, that is they have used some design aids, that is some charts have been used. The charts from SP 16. So from SP 16 we have certain charts, and those charts were used for what? For the design of uniaxial and biaxial bending of columns. So in the design of this we are going to use what? The charts which are there in SP 16, and the charts are available for different cross sections, that is for rectangular cross section, for circular cross section, and based on the reinforcement provided. If the reinforcement is it provided on two sides of the column, or if the reinforcement is provided in four sides of the column, okay, and based on the D dash by D values and the grade of steel, okay. So based on all these we have charts, and from that charts the design has to be done, which we will discuss while solving the problems. So this is how these are the codal recommendations what we have to follow for the design of columns. So when you are designing for an axial loaded and a biaxial bending column, there is a case or equation which is given in IS 456 2000, which you have to follow, and that check has to be satisfied. Then only the design what you have done is correct. So let us see what is the equation which is given here and which has to be satisfied. So this is the equation which is given for members subjected to combined axial load and biaxial bending. So based on this equation only we have to do the design for combined axial load as well as the biaxial bending, and this has to be satisfied. So how this is done and all we are going to discuss while we are solving the problems. So this is how the design of the columns is to be done. Thank you.